The retro video game market is starting to collapse, and I can understand why. Whether you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, I think it is really important to talk about this and understand what is going on and, like, what could happen. So if you know me and you have seen my reseller video, you know that I have sold my fair share of video games, and I have been since 2021, and I do that to fund my collection of video games. Now at the moment I mainly do Xbox games from the original to the one, but I also like to collect N64 and GameCube games when I can, and it's mainly ones that I really want. Like, just little oddballs here and there. I'm not going after Chibi Robo or any of the weird Pokemon games. So it's like basically just stuff I want to look at. I'm not trying to go for a full complete collection. Selling video games that I come across helps me fund my collection. But recently I have found that finding video game lots, or even just video games in general, in the wild as I like to call it, is becoming extremely hard to do. And on top of that, being able to afford these is getting unbearable. Like, this is worse than the vinyl community and how new vinyls spike in prices. These are old games skyrocketing in prices to the point where the average person cannot afford that, and it's mainly for an upper class of collectors now. And the problem does stem from some of the exact same places that the reselling community is having problems with. TikTok and other social media creators that are adding a toxic influence into these communities with, like, the crazy videos, the eye-catching videos, like, oh, I cannot believe I scored this N64 lot for like $50 and it's like a $500 lot. And it's like these people seem to blow up prices by using that same exact language in their style of content, so I won't harp on that so long. The main problem, besides the content creators in this section, is actually retro video game stores themselves. And I'm not going to talk much on the mom and pop shops or like the majority of flea market booths that do these, because I don't know how their inner businesses work and all that. I'm mainly going to talk about the chain retro video game stores, where they have multiple locations. Maybe it's multiple locations within the same state. Maybe there's some over the country. That's where I think the biggest problem lies. Most of the times when you go to these stores, you'll find some okay prices here and there. If you're just going for your basics, like, I think you can find some good Call of Duty ones for cheap. The one game I'm playing / played on the channel, Shadow Warrior, I paid $5 for, so they have good prices here and there. Now, when it comes to your Marios, your Sonics, stuff on that caliber, be ready to pay a pretty penny. I'll say that 100%. Because with those ones, they love to skyrocket prices, and unfortunately people who don't know better go in there and kind of fall for a trap. Now, I remember back in 2020, I'm not going to say 2019, because 2019 was a whole entire other beast. 2020 is when the retro video game stuff kind of started to pop off. Like, I got a copy of Shadow the Hedgehog in 2020, like late 2020, for $8.99, complete with the manuals. In 2022, at the same exact store, they had a copy in a Blockbuster case, and if you don't know, Blockbuster cases are very similar in style to GameCube cases, and how they look, and even just like how they feel, like the outer edges and all that. With just the GameCube manual, not even the game manual, like the GameCube manual, like the base white one, they had it for $70. Mine came with an original case and all the manuals. Same with a copy of Fatal Frame, just black generic DVD case, no manual, just cover and disc, for $100 last year. And at that time, a good copy, complete, was around the $100 mark at the highest. Like $99.99 pretty much. Like the no manual ones were going for around a 70, maybe 80 average. Like that was like that. It's not just disc-based games. It's cartridge ones as well. Those are the craziest and sometimes. Like games like Mario 64 being $40 to $50 loose where I'm at, and complete in box ones were going upwards of $200. I remember one time a copy of Diddy Kong Racing complete in the box, $350 at one point, and I was like, what the hell? And I will say, I know some CIB games can be high depending on what they are. I saw some price so high, I looked at the average online, and they were selling for like 15-20% less than what they had in store for the same quality. And again, I do understand businesses, they gotta make their money back, but the amount of games I've seen priced so disgustingly high is insane. And it would be one thing if these were at least in the original cases, in the case of like disc-based games. Like Xbox, I know there are a lot of really great reproduction green ones for the original Xbox and the 360. But if the game is in a black DVD case, or even at times is in the original case, but the case is cracked and can't close right, yes, I am gonna say that right now. There is a retro video game store I saw that basically was selling like $10 games where the cases were completely cracked and they just looked awful. If they are in that condition, I should not be paying a premium. Just replace the damn cases. And on top of these chain stores scalping like crazy, you have like a chain reaction where you have everyday people thinking they got holy grails. Now, I will say, I'm going to go into reseller mode to explain this, because that's the way I can explain it to you the best. So when I am in reseller mode, I separate like lots or listings into 3 separate categories. People who don't know what they have and want to move it. They're like, this is my child's video game stuff. They don't want it. Get it gone for like $10. You have people who know what they have and give you a fair price. Like maybe they're a collector themselves or just was able to research it. Those I can be okay with. Those I don't mind paying a premium because I know it comes from a good home. Now we got the one where it is the most of a problem, and what people tend to kind of put as the face of like the retro video game crap at times. People who don't know what they have and want the absolute most for it. You can normally see these obviously on Facebook or wherever you go to search for local listings, or even at your local yard sales or flea markets. It's like people selling their original Xbox 360 with their Madden games for $200, when market value on the whole lot is maybe 80 max if you're lucky. And these people have pretty much soured the video game market as a whole, and as a collector myself, it is really sad to see this. The problem is, with this whole entire retro video game market problem, is that no one is speaking up loud enough about it, I think. I never see videos about people talking about a lot of these problems. They just talk about how ridiculous it is. They don't go into why. They don't go into the why. They just tell you up front, hey, this video game market is a problem. Why is N64 games going for super duper money? What is going on here? They don't really talk about the why. They don't talk about the little bits and pieces in this. Maybe there are some that do, but I personally have not, and I did a little bit of research on this because I at least did not want to go into it blind, but I wanted to come at it mainly from my perspective. And from my perspective, I have not seen an overwhelming amount of people talk about the big problems in it. I've seen them talk about just, oh, price expensive, this is crazy. With the overwhelming amount of toxicity and upcharging that these chain retro video game stores have, and uneducated and stubborn sellers, I can honestly see the retro video game market collapsing within a few years. I'm not going to say a year, maybe 2 years. No, like I would say within 5 years, I could really see the collapse of this market. Like it seems like that would be where it's at from early 2020 to now. Yeah, it's kind of been all over the place, kind of bouncing across the room like a ball. And at this point, people are just tired of the money-hungry sellers trying to squeeze every cent they can out of consumers who don't know better, or if they do know better, are just not wanting to spend this absurd amount of money. And it's gotten so bad that I have seen some collectors sell their entire retro video game collection just because they are tired of collecting. Like, they don't want to do it anymore. Some people have collections. They're like, oh, I want to build this whole entire video game console's library. I've seen some people do it for the GameCube. I don't know how, but they did. Or like someone did it for the DS or the Wii U and all that stuff. But I've seen some people just completely sell off like a 50 to 60% completed collection just because they're like at a point where it'll become impossible to afford any of these when some of them are in like the $400 to $1,000 range at times. Like, what the hell? And it's gonna get to a point where these games get so expensive that more and more people will just stop buying it. I can see that happen now. Like, they just are like, you know what? I'm done. I can emulate these, which brings up a whole entire other scary thing of preserving physical media. For today, I think I'll leave it at that, to where now you know my view on why I think the video game market is going to crumble. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.